All right, guys, here we go. We're out here on Kentucky Lake. I'm going to give you a rundown on kind of what's been going on. It's the 1st of August, and you know what that means. It's going to start getting really tough out there. If I could pick one month on the calendar year that the fishing is really tough on Kentucky Lake, it's going to be the month of August. And man, the humidity here recently has just been unbearable. I mean, it's heat indexes of like 110, 115 in some places, but you know what that does to the fishing. I mean, it just makes things extra tough. You know, August has always been one of those months where the fishing starts getting tough anyway from all the pressure throughout the summer, you know, May, June, July, and then this time of year the fish just start getting shallower, they start moving around, start thinking of fall, even though we're still a little ways from it. You know, I think probably the hottest part of the summer is yet to come, but fish will start moving around this time of year a lot. And what happens is, usually about mid-July, you'll start seeing those shad. They'll start showing up out on the main river in big wads, and then there's more to come, you know, up shallow. And you know, you'll go up shallow and they're around every dock and around every laydown. And usually when that happens, that's usually an indication that the fishing is just gonna, you know, they'll start to scatter. They really get out there and just kind of roam around, and they start running those bait balls and stuff like that. But TVA started their drawdown cycle. You know, they start pulling it down after the 4th every year. You know, we're holding right there around that 358 mark. Water temperatures are, you know, anywhere from 85 to 90 degrees. I mean, it's hot, and like I say, the fishing is starting to really getting tough out here. You can still have some decent days, some decent mornings, but you got to get a few hours in the morning, and after that it's pretty well over with. Just a few baits I'll talk about, just you know, kind of what's been going on is, you know, the most consistent bite is probably going to be shallow. There's still a few places out offshore that you can catch a few fish offshore, but for the most part, the shallow bite is going to be a little bit more consistent. This time of year, when that bait fish starts showing up, I'll always have a topwater tied on the front deck. It's always laying on the deck of the boat. That's a 6 cents fishing catwalk there. You know, any kind of your walking style baits, your old Zora spooks, you know, the evergreen, any of those style baits that you like to throw, that you can walk around out here. A walking style bait, even a popping style bait is good. But this time of year, start looking for shad around dock corners, around laydowns. If there's a green tree in the water, or a laydown that you see, there's shad in it, and there's a good chance that there's a fish around that. So topwaters, this is the time of year I always start throwing a topwater bait. You get a few bites in the morning, and then it's pretty well over with. But always have it handy, because what'll happen is those fish will come up schooling. I have seen a place or two out here where the fish actually come up schooling in the last couple of weeks, where I was able to catch several, you know, for a little while, and then they go back down. But another bait this time of year, just to cover water, and just keep in mind what you're doing is you're trying to just put it in front of as many opportunities as you can. Fishing around dock corners, fishing around shallow brush, shallow cover, laydowns, things like that. Spinnerbait's a good bait to throw. This is the Dirty Jigs compact spinnerbait. I like this one because it's a smaller, compact bait. You can see how small it is. It's got the little small blades. Mimics the size of shad that's up there around those shallow dock floats and those laydowns. That's a good little bait to toss around this time of year too. That's probably your two most popular baits up shallow right now. A swim jig, I've mixed it in a little bit, like a Dirty Jigs, like a white swim jig. You can fish it around dock corners and stuff like that. Now, one thing to remember, if you go in a creek and you don't see any shad, that don't mean the next creek doesn't have it in it. It's not everywhere right now, but start looking for some of that stuff. You know, that's probably the most consistent deal, and it's not great. It's tough. I mean, you'll have to bounce around and fish a lot of areas to get bit. But another bait this time of year that I always have tied on for fishing offshore is going to be a blade bait. This is the Slice blade bait from 6 Cents Fishing. If you like a steel shad, any of those blade style baits, we call it a meat bait. I mean, it puts everything in the boat. But we catch a lot of fish on that, because what happens is those shad start getting in those balls out there, and they start running around out there out deep, and you can take that thing and you can just get out on those river ledge breaks and just throw that thing, chunk it, wind it, yo-yo it, get right over the top of them. It catches white bass, it'll catch bass, it'll catch big cats. If you've been out there playing with that thing at all, you know that. But that's just one of those baits. It mimics the size of bait that's out there right now, and it's just a good bait to, you know, to just have in the mix up this time of year. One other bait this time of year, it's July and August, it's a must-have, is a big worm. just a plum worm with a 5/16 ounce tungsten sinker on it, just like that right there, with a 5/0 hook. I do fish a mag shaky head a lot, you know, like a 1/2 ounce out there. If you're an offshore guy and you just don't like fishing shallow, like I say, you can still get some bites offshore. There's a few places where there's still, you know, groups of fish, but for the most part, they're starting to roam around. You're having to kind of pick them apart. You'll catch one here, one there, but a lot of the places they're, you know, that you want to look is going to be in that 8 to 10 foot range. Fish are starting to move up shallow. They'll start getting up on those shell beds, start getting up on shallow stumps, things like that. It's just the typical late summer August patterns, you know, that we talk about year after year. The cool thing is that, you know, I don't know what to expect this year, because it's been such a good year this year. The last few years, the ledge bite was really tough, and it was extra tough in August. But now that we've got some fish back in the lake, and June and July were really good, I don't know what to expect. So I'm hoping that the fall fishing gets really good, and we'll get a good topwater bite. You know, September used to be that month, and I mean, gosh, it'll be here before you know it. But we're already here. Summer's just about over with. School's getting ready to start back. But you know, I'm kind of already looking forward to fall. This is that time of year that I always kind of took a break a little bit anyway. You know, August, September, I'll do a few trips, topwater trips, but I'm just kind of anxious to see if the shad coming back in the lake, and then the population of smallmouth that we got, if that topwater bite really comes back good, and I think it will. I'm looking forward to this fall. So another bait, you know, that you can toss around out here. Everybody is familiar with the live scope forward facing minnow stuff. That's the juggle minnow from 6 cents. I throw that on an 1/8 ounce head, and just chasing bait balls. You can get out there and you can find those bait balls. You get out there and on those river breaks in that where it drops off from like 10 foot down to 15 or 16, 17 foot right there. That's, if you go idle on Kentucky Lake right now, you're going to see the bait balls, and get out there and just kind of fish around those bait balls. Bait balls will be around those stumps, a shallow cover. You can toss it over there and catch them. You know, if you're pretty good with that live scope or that active target, you can get out there and poke around with that bait right there. But that's just a few baits. It's working. Overall, the fishing's going to be tough here for the next month or so. I'll give you guys an update here in probably a few weeks to just kind of let you know how August is going. But like I say, I'm already booking trips for the fall. You guys want to get out on the water, shoot me an email at info@brandonhunterfishing.com, and we'll see you guys on the water.